Hey, welcome to 1500ESPN.com. I'm Derek Wetmore, and this is Andrew Kramer coming to you from TCF Bank Stadium, where the Vikings just won their second preseason game. They beat the Arizona Cardinals 30-28. After some late heroics from Teddy Bridgewater, Andrew, he led the Vikings down the field on a 75-yard drive in the 2-minute offense. We'll talk a little bit about the quarterbacks in this video, but we also want to focus some on the defensive players, especially on the defensive line, where Mike Zimmer might have given us a few clues as to how he's going to use players during the regular season today. Andrew, we talked a little bit before the video. I see the quarterback competition as over. I think the Vikings will probably announce that Matt Castle's the Week 1 starter sometime this week before their next game. What did you see from the quarterbacks today?
Well, Mike Zimmer says he still has a date set for when he wants to name a starting quarterback, and that didn't change after watching tonight's game. Matt Castle played the entire first half. Teddy Bridgewater played the entire second half, and that's how it was drawn up. Christian Ponder did not see any snaps, and clearly it seemed to be the Vikings treated this second preseason game a lot like the third preseason game that you would typically see in the NFL, where they let the starters go the entire first half. Mike Zimmer did that with both the offense and the defense. And what we saw from Matt Castle was extending plays down the field. I believe he ended tonight with 12 completions, so that puts him on 17 completions for the preseason. He's averaging about 13 yards per completion. They're getting the ball downfield. Norv Turner-style offenses. We're already seeing that kind of effect take hold, especially with tight end Kyle Rudolph, who made a few plays, including a 51-yard touchdown grab and run. So that was kind of the big deal with the Vikings starting offense. However, you don't see too often a preseason crowd chanting a quarterback's name in the third and fourth quarters of a meaningless preseason game. But that was the case here at TCF with Teddy Bridgewater. Fans were excited to that. You said the quarterback competition's over. If the fans had their say, it certainly wouldn't be. However, I agree with you. I think it's Matt Castle's job to lose, and Matt Castle would have to have a historic meltdown to lose this job going into Week 1 against St. Louis. It's great to see what Teddy Bridgewater did. It is. Again, but keep in mind he was doing this against the second and third team, stringers for the Arizona Cardinals defense. And it's good to see him go through these progressions and make these kind of accomplishments in the preseason. However, keep in mind that Matt Castle was the one who led this team in the first half, when the Cardinals had their defensive starters out there. So keep these things in mind when you're going forward. But to your point, I think Matt Castle has won the job.
Yeah, I think it's great to, for fans to be excited about Teddy as the future. That's fine. I personally don't think the future is here yet. As you mentioned, he's playing against some third stringers there when he gets that touchdown, but probably still good for his confidence. He sounded like a confident guy after that game, and I think that's probably just a good thing for him. You can go, that's fine. Just keep it rolling.
Yeah, most definitely. With Teddy Bridgewater, though, he finished 16 for 20 with 177 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's great to see for a rookie. But what did I see out of the defense mainly? They mixed guys around on the defensive line. Brian Robinson played on the inside. They kicked out rookie linebacker Anthony Barr on the outside, and they worked Everson Griffin at the left end. They mixed guys around quite a bit, and their pass rush succeeded. They got to the quarterback multiple times. They looked a lot better than they did in that preseason opener against Arizona.
Yeah, I talked to Brian Robinson and Anthony Barr after the game. Brian said that any way you can switch up the defense to keep the offense guessing is definitely a good thing, and I think that might be a signature of Mike Zimmer's defense this year. He said that, Brian said if somebody's having a great game, generally you can key in on that guy. You can send the fullback over, send the tight end to chip. If you have guys coming from every different way, Brian Robinson lining up on the end, maybe switching to D-tackle, which he did early in his Vikings career, that generally gets hard to, plan against. So I think using those two guys in different positions is going to be a great curveball.
Yeah, and this was just the first experiment for that in the second preseason game. However, there are 2 spots that are open on the defensive front in terms of starters. One is the middle linebacker job. They intentionally switched Jasper Brinkley and Audi Cole back-to-back series just to figure out who their starter is going to be. However, they stayed nickel quite a bit just because of what the Cardinals were doing on offense. So that job's still open, according to Mike Zimmer. Jasper Brinkley hasn't necessarily won that middle job. The other one is the third cornerback spot, where Marcus Sherrill's played the majority of that second half and the first half, actually, with Jabari Price going down and also Josh Robinson sitting out. On the injury front, I believe it was Jabari Price ended up leaving with what seemed like an arm stinger. You talked to him after the game, but also Sean Prater ended up leaving with what Mike Zimmer's calling a mild concussion. So their secondary is still getting a little bit thin here, even though they return players to the lineup tonight.
Right. Prater left in the first half, did not return. I grabbed Price after the game. He said that his arm was just stinging and that he got taken off the field as kind of a precautionary thing. Went to the locker room, didn't come back out, but it was near the end of the game. So possibly not that concerning with Price, but we'll have to see if we see him in practice. He said he's not planning on missing any practices this week. I guess that remains to be seen. on the Vikings injury front, but
Yep.
relatively healthy. So I think, through training camp and the first 2 preseason games, the Vikings have to be really happy where they're
They
at.
finally got Andrew Sendejo, Jamarcus Sanford. They got Kurt Coleman mixed in there at safety. They finally got Chris Crocker debuting in purple. So they got to see guys at safety. Mike Zimmer said obviously he wasn't able to tell right away after the game who stuck out, but he said it was good to get all those guys on tape so we can evaluate that going into practice this week.
Plenty to talk about on Vikings. We're going to go write a few stories here. Thanks for watching the video, and we couldn't get to quite all of it, so Andrew and I are going to record a Purple podcast again, breaking down this Arizona Cardinals-Vikings game. You can check that out on 1500ESPN.com. Go to the show page, slide down to Purple Podcast, and you'll find all our podcasts there for everything Vikings. For Andrew Kramer, I'm Derek Wetmore from TCF Bank Stadium. We'll see you next time.